try to get control and order here in this. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners work session. And today, Candace is going to fill us in on the County Extension Office quarterly report. Is that
Yes.
basically it? All right.
I was really excited because I try to keep this to like 5 minutes or less during a regular meeting, but I was like, I'm the only thing on the agenda. Let's see how long they'll let me go. So, don't worry, it won't be that long. But here to report the work that the Shawnee County Extension Office has been doing the first part of this year. This is how K-State has us report our work, so it's been a really great opportunity to come to the commission, use those same reports that all the agents are doing, summarize it down so you know what we're up to as well. First off, I want to start with the demographics of our direct educational contacts, because this is also something that the Department of Agriculture has changed some rules on. They say you can't guess anymore, you can't look at a room and estimate, so we have to give QR codes or questionnaires with our programs to make sure we are reporting who we are serving. And we do this because our goal is to be in parity with our county or with the region that we're serving. So the Hispanic population of Shawnee County, are we matching that in the percentages of people that we are serving? And I'm very happy to report in 2022, Shawnee County Extension was in parity. So we're very excited about that. We have a couple of programs, school enrichment, expanded food and nutrition, that really help us to make sure we're serving all the pockets of the county. I'm going to start with Grace Weens and the work that she's doing in the 4-H youth development part. In February, 4-H had Club Days. Club Days is a time for youth to do presentations, either speaking presentations, parliamentary procedure, music, acting, in front of a judge to get a rating. This is really important, and one of the things that people often say about 4-H is, when I came in at 7 years old, I was terrified. I wouldn't get out from behind my parent, and by the time I was 13, 14, older, I was the only one in my class in school that could stand up, give a talk, no problem, because public speaking really is a practice thing. The more you do it, the less scary it gets, and so we start kids off at 7 years old, actually 5 and 6, doing show and shares, and Club Days is when they get to do that in front of a judge. Also, Grace is making some really great connections in the community. She's in her second year in this position, and she met with Jill Rice from Fellowship Highcrest to do some summer programs over in Highcrest for the underserved youth in that area. And they're also talking about how we keep 4-H in that area for year-round programming. Is that a 4-H club, community club? Is that a special interest club? They're going to figure that out and how to work with that group. She is also now hosting in-person volunteer training. To be a 4-H volunteer, adults have to do a background check, and then they have to get some training on youth development, ages and stages, what we should be expecting of kids at different ages. And you've always been able, since COVID, to do those online. Grace is bringing those back to do in person. She had 17 at her first training, and she's planning to do them every 6 months. And then looking forward in 4-H, Shawnee County is going to host 2 Department of Education interns to do summer programming with 4-H, and those are all funded through Department of Education and Kansas 4-H, and units across the state applied to get these interns, and Shawnee County got 2. So that's exciting. Going to move on to the work Lisa is doing with expanded food and nutrition. This quarter, SNAP Ed joined with the Shawnee County Health Department to dedicate the WIC Community Garden to longtime Health Department employee, Mr. Charles McPeak. Mr. McPeak, he was a part of organizing and planning for this garden, but did pass away, and so they dedicated the garden to him this quarter. funding for that garden was supplied by Shawnee County SNAP Ed funds and Extension Culture of Health grant. So that's how we were involved with the WIC gardens. FNEP has already graduated 60 households, including 291 family members, with their nutrition and education programs that they do. And I just see, as I'm looking at the quarterly reports, all these exciting partnerships. But they've had 2 Teens a Cooking classes at TCALC this quarter, the Topeka Center for Advanced Learning and Careers. So that's exciting to be in that building with 501, doing extension programming there as well. Leroy, he always has like 6 pages of reports. It's really hard to get in there and pick some highlights for you because every day he is just doing a lot for the agriculture community. He also does a lot of programming, especially in that first quarter of the year, because that might be when producers can come to the office and participate in a program, versus once the weather is nice, they are out in the fields, they are working animals, they cannot come in for an educational program. So he did 5 coffee, cookies, and conversations programs, and his topics included weathering the storm in agriculture, coping with stress. That was a mental health program that was very well received. Farm and ranch taxes, soil health outreach, and a rainfall simulator. Farm transition, and pasture and crop ground leases and fence laws. And just by the titles, I think you can see why producers would be like, yes, I'm going to come in. He always brings in a speaker, an expert in that area, so that they can get that information, and sometimes just start the planning process for like that farm transition or farm taxes. Like, I just need some information so I know what questions I need to ask and where I need to go next. This quarter, he had 52 soil tests analyzed for crop and brome fields. Those tests are really important. They show the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and pH levels of the soil, which helps the producer make better decisions about the fertilizer they need to apply, ultimately saving them money and saving the county because it helps with runoff of the fertilizer and keeping the water supply clean. So we can't underestimate all these soil tests that K-State is analyzing. The impact to Shawnee County is really great. And then we were happy to have the farm show back at the Stormont Vale Event Center in January. They estimated they had about 30,000 in attendance at that 3-day show. And Extension has a booth there. And all Northeast Kansas agents come work it, but Leroy is the point person, makes the shifts, gets people signed up, and really takes that on for the whole area. Our newest agent, Lane Weens, which Parks and Rec has not stolen and will not steal, he's mine. He started this quarter, and he is doing his first full year of new agent training with K-State Research and Extension. So he's out of the office a lot this year, learning different parts of his job. But that hasn't stopped the work in the office. He's already done his first program with the Master Gardeners, distinguishing plant problem symptoms for response line training. 42 Master Gardeners attended, and it was a great program, as Response Line did start in April. So this was last quarter, but he was getting them ready for Response Line. He answered 60 client questions in 3 months on a variety of topics, including people's soil test results, turf establishment, and chemical applications. And probably what he's most proud of to be done with is he defended his master's thesis, and he's going to graduate with his master's in horticulture from K-State in May. So we all zoomed in to watch him do his research. I didn't understand a lot, but he was very impressive, and it was successful. So he's happy to have that done. And then the Master Gardeners would have my hide if I didn't say May 6th is the plant sale at Ag Hall from 9 to noon. The greenhouse at the Extension office is already full of plants, and it's the main fundraiser Master Gardeners do. Like, get there early. There's not a lot left at noon, but it does go from 9 to noon. So, excited about the plant sale. Susan's had some big programs going on this quarter. Walk Kansas, the 8-week walking program that focuses on physical activity and healthy eating started. We have 129 participants in Shawnee County. It's a little bit down than previous years, but it doesn't count anymore for Health Quest points. So we used to have a slug of state employees that would sign up because they could get 5 Health Quest points, but unfortunately, statewide, that has been taken off of there. But her big program that just ended last week was the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program that she coordinates, called VITA for short. In 2023, they had 4 in-person sites where people could come get their taxes prepared for free by volunteers. And then they also had a mail-in option and drop-off options that are left over from COVID, but it's still meeting the needs of some people. So the VITA group continues to do those things until they see that that's really not needed anymore. And then a new partnership this year, they had a site at CRC Lundgren, bringing that service to Oakland. That site operated 3 days a week. It had 4 volunteer preparers, 1 volunteer greeter, and 1 site coordinator. So it is a big effort of volunteers to get these in-person sites going. And actually this week she will be at the United Way Volunteer Fair trying to recruit more volunteer tax preparers. So if you're interested, if you enjoy doing taxes, talk to Susan. She can help you. I didn't see a lot of hands going up. It's okay, don't worry. And then lastly, I will talk a little bit about some of my community vitality programs. As you all know, I used to be the 4-H agent, and so I had a really good time in January. I coached 3 young men from the Omni Circle Youth Group to do the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge, which is where kids or youth think of a business, they do a business plan, they do a pitch for that business, and they do a poster session where they have a trade show showing off their business. They were all great, and they all had great ideas. And JJ Doby from Shawnee Heights Middle School, who you can see JJ's basketball academy there on the slide, he placed 3rd. And all 3 of these young men were in 8th grade, and the competition is from 8th to 12th grade. And we got there, and I was like, oh, they worked so hard. I was like, I hope one of them places, and one of them did, so I was very excited. And then in March, I had a board leadership series, which is a 4-part class covering all types of community board topics, from handling conflict, parliamentary procedures, strategic planning, responsibilities of community board members. Had 10 sign up. All 10 did come, but 9 of the participants made at least 3 of the 4 sessions. And some of the boards represented this time was Junior League of Topeka, Vallejo, the Topeka Doula Project, Kansas State Extension Advisory Council, Drama Therapy Fund Board, and CRC. So it's a very diverse group of community boards that come and take this training, and they learn a lot from each other as well. So they get a lot from the curriculum, and then they also talk, what are you doing about grants? Are you hiring a grant writer? How are you doing this? And I think that that has a lot of value to bring these community board members together as well. And then, did I go half an hour? Oh man, I missed it. I wanted to talk for half an hour. But I just want to thank the Commission for their support of Extension education and for what all of our staff and all of our volunteers are doing in Shawnee County. We couldn't do it without your guys' support. So any questions? Maybe we can still pull this out.
I have a question. 4-H, is there a dues that they pay or a fee to belong to 4-H?
Yes, there is a one-time $15 fee that goes to Kansas 4-H, so that does not stay local. That's to help organize the program above the county level. The Kansas 4-H Foundation does have a box you can tick when you're enrolling. If that fee is going to hinder your participation, you can tick the box, and I've never known the Kansas 4-H Foundation not to pay one of those $15 fees. But the cost of 4-H, so this is my spiel though, when people say, how much does it cost? Comes in what your children choose to study. If you're doing the horse project, you might be spending a second mortgage because horses are expensive. But if you're doing foods and nutrition and you already have measuring cups and mixing bowls and all this stuff, the cost will be less. So a lot of the cost of 4-H depends on what your kids are going to be participating in.
Candace, let's talk a little bit about the K-State Extension facility. You are located on the Stormont Vale Event Center grounds. Your current, I mean, we've done a little bit of updates to the facility. Are the facilities meeting the needs of K-State Extension?
They are. Unless you could build me more closets, we really enjoy our office space mainly, and I know we've talked about this before, because of our 2 meeting rooms. So we have a 15-person meeting room downstairs, and then we have about a 65-person meeting room upstairs, and they are used year-round. Master Gardeners, 4-H, all of our other programs. My board leadership series was in the downstairs meeting room. I know at one point Cindy calculated how many times the meeting rooms were used in a year, and it's more than once a day because a lot of times we're running 2 or 3 meetings through those rooms. So yeah, and Nelda has been fabulous. We've had a couple of water issues that would have happened, no matter what, but she's responsive. Her people get over there the same day, and they check on us even when we don't call, which is awesome. Like, hey, how's everything going? We're like, well, since you asked.
I know that sometimes it's easy to maybe overlook the extension office. It's kind of tucked away downstairs in the basement, backside of,
Yeah, can we make some skylights for that back room?
Yeah. So the other question
that
I
on the
had
list.
is, our greenhouse is about 10 years, almost 11 years old now.
Is it?
Yeah, it was a...
I know it was a Jamie Hancock
it
project.
It was.
Yeah.
And so how's it holding up?
So they just replaced the plastic this year. The type of greenhouse it is, that plastic has a life, a shelf life. But they had such an amazing plant sale last year. It was the first one back since COVID that they took the extra funds and they replaced that plastic. There's one fan that gives them fits, but I mean, I would have to check with Lynn Weaver, the master gardener who really takes care of the greenhouse, to see if there was things that they needed, but mainly the master gardeners take that as a responsibility of that group to maintain and keep going. But they did just replace the plastic.
Okay. And then, I know we highlighted the departments, but are there other staff members that we haven't highlighted today, just that do a lot of work around your office?
Oh, absolutely. So Haley Kelly runs our school enrichment programs. And so a lot of times youth in Shawnee County don't even know that they were a part of a 4-H program, but they're like, yes, I hatched chickens in my classroom, and that was so cool. That is one of Haley's school enrichment projects. We had caterpillars, and they did chrysalis and then butterflies. That is a 4-H school enrichment project. Our 4-H, or not 4-H, our horticulture program assistant, Jennifer Lever, is brand new. I think this is her 3rd week in the position. So we know she will do great things, but she's still learning her job. And then I'm going to miss people. I shouldn't have started naming names. But Joanne Domi and Casey Beck, the office professionals that are out front. And Joanne is also our bookkeeper. We say all the time, like, we couldn't do the education out in the community if it wasn't for those people making sure all of our ducks were in a row. So, yeah.
And then the last question I had is, I mean, this is called the K-State extension, even though Shawnee County is one of the financial contributors. So what are you getting from K-State? Are they going to be looking at level funding, increasing funding for K-State Extension? Are you getting any feedback from looking forward we're still a couple months away from the budget, but it's always looking forward to our
No,
budget.
and we're looking at that too from the state, because in the governor's budget was some increased funding for state employees, which only affects the agents in our office. So K-State puts in for agent salaries and benefits, and then their major contribution is then our educational specialists our IT, our HR. So all those calls we make to Manhattan, and not to Shawnee County. We could, but I know they have a lot to do, so we call up to K-State. But there was some proposed salary increases. That has not been settled yet. I don't know. It may have also been dropped by this point, but we won't know until the end. And then they kind of apply that as the percentage that they pay toward us too. So like if they said, oh, a 5% increase, it would only be a 5% on the part that K-State is putting in, not towards our total salaries. We did get more salary dollars from them last year, and it was for the FNEP program. Those nutrition educators and LISA are funded primarily through the federal program. And so they got money coming down that way, and it did come to Shawnee County. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned soil testing for farmers, but if you're a homeowner and you're worried about your lawn, can you get a soil test for that?
Absolutely. So the first thing we do when people walk in with a soil test, if we ask if it's lawn, garden, or field, and then if they say garden, we say flowers or vegetables, because the recommendations that we are going to make based on those soil samples is different depending on what you were growing or intending to grow. We do have cost share money right now to help with the costs of soil tests in Shawnee County, but when we don't have cost share money, a routine soil test is $10, and I think for the amount of information you get, it's worth the $10. So I know sometimes people come in and we're out of cost share and they were like, well, it's not free, and I was like, well, but it's worth something.
Hey, could you talk a little bit about what Master Gardeners provides to the community?
Oh my goodness, we are going to get to a 30 minutes. No, Master Gardeners, our volunteer group in Shawnee County, they have demonstration gardens around the county. I want to say 9. Someone in my office is streaming this right now and going, wrong, wrong, wrong. So we have demonstration gardens around the county. They're at the Governor's Mansion. They're at Lake Shawnee. We have 2 right now that are by the train on Stormontvale Event Center grounds that we are trying to move, and we've been in talks with Parks and Rec about putting them at Family Park, hopefully, fingers crossed, hoping that will work, just because of vandalism. Where they're at, it's such a low traffic area, it's so easy to steal the fence, steal the tools, and then some people just go and just pull up the plants for no reason. It's been a problem for a couple years, and we're ready to move those gardens after we've tried several things. The response line, which is going right now, every afternoon, anyone with the phone number can call and ask questions about their house plants, their gardens, their lawns, and our Master Gardeners spend 1 year in training to be able to answer these questions with research-based materials. And I say that because last year we had someone call in and they had a question that they couldn't find on the back of the bag of whatever product they were using. And so our Master Gardener we don't just use K-State Research and Extension, we use the entire extension system. And she looked and she looked and she could not find the answer in research. And so she said, I'm sorry, but I can't answer this question because I can't find it. And the person was like, well, what do you think? What do you think is the answer? And she's like, oh, that's not how we work. We have to say this is the answer based on research. So they spend a year going through that training to be Master Gardeners, working response line. And then we have a youth committee that will go out and work with youth groups in horticulture. We have a speakers bureau committee, which if the Daylily Club needs a speaker or they do a series at the library that needs speakers about horticulture, they will go do that. And that's just 2 of their probably 18 committees that I'm thinking of. And it's when you really start thinking about it, all volunteers going out and doing all that work, on behalf of improving our community through horticulture, which is their mission statement.
To be a Master Gardener, there's a little bit of work involved into that.
Yep. We will have a new Master Gardener class. Ooh, I'm not going to say when they start, but I think it's August. Someone at the office right now is getting real mad. But you apply, and then you do have to do that several months of training, and then you have to work with a Master Gardener mentor, and then after your first year in that process, you become a Master Gardener. You get the blue polo. It's very important. It's the official.
Nate, on the Master Gardeners, you talk about gardens. Is this flower gardens, vegetable gardens, like all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah. And they also do trees and grass and insects. Like, is this, I don't know what they were cutting open the other day, but they had a vehicle that they weren't using, and there was these weird pods in, like, the wheel part. And so they brought him in, and they were like, well, you've probably already killed what's inside of it. Let's cut it open and see what it is. And they took it back to the microscope, dissected it, and I think it was praying mantis. Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's not too many boring days at the Extension office.
So I know that you guys are right there at the Expo Center grounds. The weed department's right up the road. Do you guys work together on stuff quite a bit, or?
I wouldn't say we program together, but they can only deal with noxious weeds. So sometimes people come in with that's not classified that, and they're like, go to the Extension office. But also, when people are buying chemical, sometimes they don't have a private applicator's license. We give that test. So it's really nice to be just down the road, and then people will come to us and say, we want to rent a spray rig, and we're like, oh, it's just right up that way. And if the event center's not having an event, don't tell Kellen. We'll say, just go down the alley.
I had another question also. The income tax assistance program, VITA, I think is what you called it. I've seen that advertised for both by Washburn Law and by the library. Are they different programs? Or is this like a community collective program?
VITA is a community collective program. Washburn Law, I believe, is going to be not under that VITA umbrella next year because the IRS trains each coalition together, and they just weren't able to make it to the different things that were required by VITA, but they can do it on their own as well. But the library is a VITA site, the mail-in, the drop-off, Lundgren, Rossville Library. So they are all under that VITA umbrella.
Okay.
And it's an IRS program as well.
So I think tax day is maybe tomorrow?
Yeah, but we
Is it today?
closed last week.
I'm extended, just so you know. But does that program run year round, or just only
No.
at tax time?
And we don't even run like the whole when taxes are accepted. We have a start date, and then we ended, I think, Thursday last week. Because, so also I was going to say, and I didn't, in our quarterly numbers, VITA was not in that. It did start in the first quarter, but we won't have all of our coordinators together pulling everything until next quarter. So all those VITA contacts will be in next quarter.
Okay, great, appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to recommend you for the Vital program.
No,
Aw, you could be a greeter. You would be an excellent greeter.
You could be a greeter. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Any other questions?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, Mary, thank you very much.
That was fun. We'll do this again.
Yeah. Anna? All right.
I'll make more slides next time.
Well, normally on my agenda, it says if there's any administrative announcements. Betty, that would be you. All right. Seeing none, I guess we're adjourned. Thank you very much for attending.
so